Good morning, Sasha, Braden, and anyone else. It's Warrior Wednesday again. So, Sasha, this one is more for you. And I'm going to tell you about probably one of the scariest times, certainly in the second deployment that I had in Iraq. And we were flying in a helicopter. And so, just one of the things that I was doing over there, I worked as the executive officer for the deputy commanding general for support. And his job was kind of to basically to shut down all the bases from the border with Turkey all the way down to Baghdad. So everything north of Baghdad, we were shutting down. And we had sort of this little cycle where we would start in Mosul. That was sort of our headquarters area where we started. And we would fly down to Tikrit and to Kirkuk, and then kind of down to the embassy, and then back to where our division headquarters was at Camp Spiker. And we would spend Saturday and probably part of Sunday there because there were a lot of division level meetings and my boss wanted to be there. And then we would fly back to Mosul Sunday night or Sunday afternoon. And I just remember one time we're flying and, I'm normally reading my Kindle. And so, we're not really paying a ton of attention, but you can look out and you start to see it getting really foggy. And normally you can see out the windows, you can see the ground. Eventually, couldn't see the ground, couldn't really see anything around it. I was starting to get a little worried. I kept looking at the journal, wondering if he was going to get worried. He never really said anything. I'm sitting there starting to pray, oh, please, please let us not have any issues. And so, this, I don't know, hour and a half helicopter ride back to Mosul. And we get there and land, and really wasn't much, nothing was much was spoken about it, except the general pulled me into his office later that night and said, "Hey, by the way, you can let the pilots know that it is not mission critical that we get back here on Sunday nights. So if it's dangerous and we need to turn back, I'm okay with doing that. I want to be safe." And so, my point to this story is, communication is key, right? I think had we probably told those pilots, "Hey, this Saturday after or Sunday afternoon flight that we're taking, it's not mission crew. It's not like we're rescuing anyone or we're picking up someone who's from a downed helicopter or anything like that. We're just flying back to our base because we had sort of base bunk space, down south with our division headquarters. We also had our camp up north in Mosul as well, and so it wasn't critical that we got there. And so I think had we probably done a better job communicating that to them, I think, I'm not 100% sure, they might have turned around at some point, but luckily everything worked out okay. I know they have instruments and stuff, but over there in Iraq, the maps are probably not as good as they are in the United States. And, someone randomly puts something up that all of a sudden is an obstruction, or, you know, someone attacks the helicopter because we start flying low because of a ceiling or something like that. That can be, that can put people's lives in jeopardy when it's not necessary. And so, there is a time in the Army when we understand this is risky. We're going to do it because it's worth it, because the payoff. And then we also do the same risk assessment and go, hey, this is not worth it. Like, wasn't worth it to get to Mosul that night to probably risk any type of of the risk of the danger of going through the severe weather. So anyway, always communicate to your soldiers. Make sure they understand, if this is mission critical, that we're going to do this even if it's dangerous, but always try to mitigate the risks as much as possible. All right. Hope you enjoyed that.